Hello, friend. Welcome to Remarkable Results Radio. Carm Capriato here, and episode 537. Hey, as you know, I have aftermarket distribution in my blood, and I wanted to hear from a jobber on how they are coping internally and supporting their professional customers in light of the pandemic. Now, I reached out to Lee Walker, president of Walker Auto Parts, a 67 NAPA store group from North Carolina. Lee says his team is doing their best in helping and adjusting for the safety of their people and their customers. Here's a taste.
What we have seen is that actually the independently owned and operated repair facilities have fared better than national major account brands.
Hey, Carm here, the Aftermarket Podcast guy, and so duly honored to have you listening right now to the Aftermarket's premier podcast. Now, we've been creating wise content for over 5 years now, bringing you unparalleled and unrivaled aftermarket resources and content because you keep listening to learn just one thing. And we'll continue to cover and discuss the current business climate in light of the pandemic. Hey, remember, we hold the nuts and bolts of automotive aftermarket business acumen right here. Young and old, founders and successors, techs and diagnosticians, shop owners, or students. We are here to help you rise to new levels and meet your challenges with the industry's premier online and on-demand podcast. To find a listening app, remarkableresults.biz/subscribe. Look, I want to thank a strong supporter of the podcast, NAPA Auto Care. As you know, the NAPA Expo has officially been rescheduled February 1st through the 4th, 2021. Las Vegas for sure will be painted blue and gold as Team NAPA puts on the fabulous event planned prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. NAPA wants to thank everyone for understanding the event postponement and sends their well wishes to you and your families. Rest assured, Team NAPA is as energized and invested as ever in NAPA Expo, and we look forward to hosting you in February 2021. You can find the key talking points for this episode with Lee Walker at remarkableresults.biz/E537. Hey, let's get into the supplier's perspective of the pandemic and what Lee Walker from Walker Auto and Truck, a third-generation supplier from North Carolina, is doing to keep the parts flowing and being there to support their service professional customers. What type of deliveries are critical and hotshot worthy because staffing isn't probably what it should be? Are loyalty and relationships important in both directions, from personal protective equipment to giving resources and advice for the PPP loan, to delivery types, to a discussion on the supply chain? Lee says that most of the thriving supply chains are built with robust networks and solid inventory and supply strategies. He sees no problems, especially at his NAPA supply chain. Welcome and listen to learn just one thing. Hey, a warm welcome to Lee Walker, president of Walker Auto and Truck. Hello, Lee. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here today.
I'm glad you're here. Third generation of the Walker family in the business. And let me just tell the audience, only 67 NAPA store locations in North Carolina?
That's right. All in North Carolina. Work with my grandfather, who is 92, my dad, 2 uncles, 2 cousins at the current count.
I can relate to the family business thing, having been in a family business and worked for a large family business in the past. So glad to have you here. There's a reason that I wanted to talk to a supply partner in the industry. And when I say supply partner, I've always believed that the service professional should always look at their parts supplier as a supply partner. And because of the pandemic, COVID, everything that's going on, we've done so many interviews on getting up and over and, the new normal, adapt or die and all that stuff. And I wanted to talk to a supplier. And I wanted to ask that supplier a bunch of things from your perspective, because I'm hearing from the service professional. Have some fun with me today, and we'll see where this thing goes.
Yeah, absolutely. We view the strength of the aftermarket to perform fundamentally based on relationships. Most important for us, whether it's during a pandemic response or any other regular old time, which we wish we could get back to as quickly as possible, we feel like communication and listening is of utmost importance, because if we can just kind of train ourselves and have the discipline to really authentically and genuinely communicate with who it is that we're trying to partner with. And if we can listen to their needs and discern what is a win-win together, then hopefully we're smart people, and we can build a path for generations, and we do kind of view these partnerships on a generational timescale to really have both businesses achieve what it is that they can achieve together, which is going to be more than they can apart.
Glad to hear you say that. The whole thing with generations, your third generation, your grandfather is 92, you said? The thing I used to love about the family business is I bought from your grandfather and your dad, and it is such a great feeling. And there's not a lot of service professionals that really know, the essence of the strength of those relationships. And, I love this as a side benefit of this discussion. When COVID hit, we were all in, what? Lockdown? Are you kidding me? How to be safe? I'm sure you sat down with your leadership team and started to realize, how are we going to do, if there's such a thing as touchless delivery, how are we going to protect our people inside? As a supplier, and the majority of the listeners of the podcast are at that service professional level technicians, share with us what went through your mind and how you're protecting not only your people but your customers.
Well, we knew that we needed to really focus on how we were going to continue to operate and serve our customer. We didn't know exactly how the downstream market was going to be impacted, which is kind of primarily the short-term impact to bay count. And what we've seen in many markets for us is that, while bay count is not what it was, that the great thing about our industry and what we do to support transportation systems for everybody in our country is that there is a continuous need for the services that are provided in bays day in and day out. So we really looked at the CDC guidance to make sure that we were putting together structures in our stores that were going to first and foremost keep our folks as safe as possible so that they could continue to work and serve our customer. And then we looked at, what do we need to do to make sure that we are being as safe as possible when we deliver to shops. And again, that was kind of back to listening and learning as we went. And we had actually one of our car dealership partners, which is a larger car dealership franchise, design some of their own protocols where, basically we had proper PPE, which is kind of a no-brainer, but then they set up drop boxes outside of their shop bay doors. And so we essentially immediately stopped entering their facility. So basically what we did is we learned from that, and we offered to, I won't say we insisted on, but we certainly tried to immediately nudge all of our commercial repair partners in the same direction to say, hey, let's set a tote up. We can ring the doorbell if you have a doorbell, or we'll give you a phone call through our delivery dispatch system if you'd like a phone call, or holler at you or whatever. And if you've got cores and defects, just be sure to communicate with us and let us know on the front end so that we'll make sure to pick those up. I feel like we've been as safe as possible and have limited any kind of cross contagion possibility.
I've heard from a couple of guys that they say, well, we've got a back door, so the part driver comes to the back door. We've got a wireless doorbell there, and like you say, a tote or a drop box, so they never have to enter the building. We put them behind the building at the back doors, so in case there's a customer out there, we've got enough separation and nothing for the customer to totally worry about. Great ideas. And I guess my point that I'm hearing from you is you were very proactive in reaching out to your customers and says, how do you want to do business with us? What do we have to do to help you?
In some ways, these abnormal circumstances open up opportunities to better your dialogue and your communication, because it forces you to. You have to react if you're focused on supporting each other and communicating and learning, then you can actually respond to things very quickly. And so what we hope as an outcome of this that we can kind of keep is to say, well, how do we begin to apply that same principle in other parts of our business to help us continue to drive service? We break down our value into what could be known as a hedgehog concept, and that's the whole kind of good to great business philosophy. And our three things that are really our drivers as a company are sales. We're very sales passionate as a company. Relationships, which we've been talking about, that's the thing that we can be the best at in the world. And then really our core economic driver is our performance at our stores. And so we think of those concepts internally to our company, but also as we relate to our customers and our supplier partners. And so we try to take the learnings of things like this COVID crisis to always kind of flush them through that filter and both approach the current situation through that lens, but also take outcomes from it and make sure that we're baking those outcomes into our value proposition for the long term.
Excellent. I love it. I got on your website. I saw that big on culture, and that's just so important to grow a business your size, and so important to have the supply, the partners that you have out there, as you say, on your commercial partners. How's business with your customers, with you? I mean, we're hearing numbers all over the place, and I don't ask you to share this, but are you surprised that you're better off right now and your customers are better off than they thought they were as an essential business?
I am. 45 days ago or 60 days ago, kind of prior to knowing how the market was going to react, I was anticipating catastrophic numbers. What we have seen is that actually the independently owned and operated repair facilities have fared better than national major account brands. And I think there's probably some metro to rural market breakdown there that could apply or have some impact. But my thinking on that somewhat is that in most cases, that our customer's relationship with their customer is strong, and that the loyalty that's represented there is powerful. And so those two entities, being the independently owned repair facility and their customer, have a mutually supportive relationship. And so, while I think the market has been impacted, and certainly the macro fundamentals are going to play out over time, just relative to miles driven and vehicles in operation and all those things, that kind of on a micro basis, it just plays through that having strong relationships with your customer and knowing your customer, whoever that is vitally important to survival and thriving.
It's perfect advice in normal times. But what you've noticed is the impact of the strength of that relationship and how it has truly helped. It's great advice. Hey, it's Carm here with news about the new NAPA Smart Sign, previously known as the digital menu board. I like to think of it like a silent salesman on a TV near your service desk. It's an easy way for you to increase customer awareness of your current promotions and educate them about needed repairs and service. In other words, having a NAPA Smart Sign will supercharge your sales. NAPA Auto Care tests have shown 1 out of 5 consumers ask for a repair or service they've seen on the board. And targeted promotions resulted in double-digit increases. One auto care shop owner said, "I've received amazing feedback. Customers are actually asking for additional services they see on the screen." Now that's what I call getting results. You choose the content for your NAPA Smart Sign from a library of auto care services and repair topics. The Smart Sign comes with preloaded content. Just about anything you can think of is available, from alternators and alignment to wiper blades and wheel bearings. There are over 150 topics to choose from. Templates can be customized with your location branding for a professional look. Some of the options include customer reviews from Kukui, Demand Force, or MechanicNet, live news, and even the weather. Whatever content you choose, it's preloaded for you. Just as important, it's easy to change your services, prices, and video content anytime you'd like. Plus, the latest NAPA national promotions are downloaded to you automatically. Of course, having a NAPA Smart Sign gives your auto care center a professional, state-of-the-art look and feel that tells customers, I'm on top of my game. Now, that builds trust, which means recommendations are accepted more readily and customers spend more. Find out more about what NAPA Smart Sign can do for your business. Talk with your servicing NAPA store owner to find out more about the Smart Sign and all the other reasons to become part of the NAPA Auto Care family, the largest network of independent repair shops in the country. Hotshot delivery is still really important today, or are everyone saying, listen, you can deliver on the hour or whatever? How has that affected deliveries?
And these times are so interesting, not just for hotshot deliveries, but I'll even kind of put that in a bigger perspective, that this has become a time where everything that we've been talking about digitizing for the past 2 years, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, we got to figure out how to go paperless, how to not have the courier. We have a big courier system. What are we going to do if we need to operate with half of our delivery driver staff, yet still service our customer to the greatest degree?
Wait a minute. So you sat down in a meeting once and you said, drones? Maybe we should look at drones.
Yeah, drones is going to be an interesting thing for our industry, just given the size of the packaging. Can range from, an O-ring to a heavy-duty radiator. But so we have been in the process of deploying a digital delivery dispatch system with actual tablets in vehicles to provide routing. And the system is pretty smart. We've been piloting it in a few stores. We decided to deploy the digital dispatch system across as many stores as we could during this time, and take the extra time that we have, if we do have downtime from the downturn, to do training and to begin to use that system more broadly to ask the question that you just asked, and then actually discern the answer to say, can we communicate in a way that really understands the nuance even better of the repair that you're performing in the shop? And what's always been fascinating in our industry, which can be counterintuitive for people, is in many cases a $5 filter is a much more of a rush and far more important to deliver than a $180 flywheel, right? Because you have to understand downstream what's being repaired and what sort of the time outlook is relative to that repair. If the shop's got a car up on the rack and they ran out of the filter on the shelf and they need that filter to turn that bay, we may lose money on that delivery, but that delivery absolutely needs to be hot-shotted, whether it's COVID-19 or not. But we can also understand to say, hey, if a shop's planning its workflow and it's got a 5-hour job, then we just need to lay that part in their hand right at the right time. And so I think kind of as a precipitation of continue to adapt and evolve our digital platform through this COVID crisis, we'll be able to get smarter and do that even better.
It sounds so interesting. I played in that arena a little while ago and respect it and understand what you're going through. And I think you said something really big and important. You said the word collaboration without saying it. And if I was a service professional and I needed a flywheel, I would have to present to you an honest delivery need time so that you can get me that filter in a hot shot environment and then spend the next 2 or 3 hours or the next day to get the flywheel to me, because I honestly told you, I'm not crying wolf over here, and I'm not telling you that everything I need to buy is that important, and that allows you to meet those critical timelines. And, if the filter is going out and it's a rush and the flywheel's been there for an hour, then the flywheel drives on the truck. I mean, the point of it is if it's rushed, it goes. If it's not, it waits for the next truck so that you have some sanity. I know the cost of delivery. It's one of your biggest expenses. And collaboration could be the greatest outcome of COVID.
Absolutely. You mentioned the cost of delivery. This crisis has shone a light on, indeed, how high the cost of delivery is. There is no magic to that. And so, to your point, collaboration is key. We actually want to change the mindset of everyone in the industry, including first and foremost the folks on our counter, to get away from thinking of even the physical aspect of whether or not they have the part on the shelf 20 feet away from them, and begin to build networks of inventories that we can deploy across markets where we have more SKU counts, but those SKUs may differ even greater in physical locations because physical locations are limited, yet we have digital technology that can compile those SKUs and then serve them up to wherever they need to be served based on a committed time. So we're really going to start preaching a committed time, and we're making a commitment to hit that time. And we're going to use the technology and the resources that we have to hit that time. And really, you as the technician, service writer, shop owner, you shouldn't care necessarily where it comes from. So often we think, okay, our counter guy will say, no, I don't have it. I'm going to have to go get it from the store next door. But in reality, it doesn't affect the committed time at which we could make that, delivery happen. We just need to collaborate and use technology and resources. And so we get scared of the big behemoths of Amazon, but in some ways, if they will unlock that potential for us, because when you buy from Amazon, you don't know where it's coming from. You don't care. You just know exactly when you're going to get it, and it shows up. And so if this whole thing nudges us or catapults us forward in that regard, I think it will help everyone in the industry.
I so relate to you. I used to tell my people, tell the customer we got it. Even if it's in the next town 3 miles over and we have a shuttle truck between them and we can still meet, a respectable delivery time. But what happened is when everybody started to go online and realize that the part wasn't in my store, they didn't feel like we could jump through the hoops well enough to get them that part in time, so they'd order from a different supplier. And we said, almost too much information wasn't good enough. But one of the things that you also said, and I wrote down the word data, and that is how you're deploying inventory will come from that level of research, what kind of part, how they fit into, a repair scheme and stuff. And it's refreshing to hear that you guys are working on that. Great stuff. Now, the next question is, how are you helping your customers stay open? I mean, are they asking you for anything above and beyond just parts?
We certainly are doing our best to supply the PPE that's required really everywhere now. And that's been challenging. The supply networks of all of the PPE products in all, or at least to all industries has been severely disrupted. But we do have, because we sell gloves every day, we do have products like gloves, like masks, face shields, and things like that. And so we've been able to really work with our repair partners to make sure that they have what's necessary to keep their shops clean and safe. And then we've even done some other things to the bigger picture of helping keep folks operating. We've had some conversations with some shop owners about helping provide them resources for PPP loans. Again, a digital evolutionary moment, I guess, was me Zooming one of our customers who I had never met. And we sent out an email and said, hey, if anybody wants to just talk about the PPP loan, let us know. And somebody replied within 5 minutes of our email blast. And the next morning, we're on a Zoom call creating a relationship. And we were actually with the same bank, so we were able to directly help them out. We've gotten into having some fun making videos, both videos about who we are, but also making videos in collaboration with our customers. So we did a video with one of our NAPA Auto Care Gold shops, demonstrating both how we're making safe deliveries and interaction, but really the video was customer facing, and it was a video that they can use on their social media, and they can demonstrate who they are, show themselves in their best light during this crisis, and also clearly demonstrate to their customer that they're going to keep them safe and that they need them coming back to them. And so again, that's been a revelation to say, well, hey, why don't we just do this all the time? Because it's meaningful, and hey, this is where we should be spending our efforts as we come out of this.
Be creative, adapt or die. I mean, I think that's going to be it. There's nothing called the new normal ever coming at us again. And just like you say, if you allow yourself to absorb the common sense that's going on around you and saying, we're just not going to do business as normal. And so everyone bring me a brand new idea of every day of how we can interact and build relationships, even if it's touchless. Thanks for that. I just love the things you're saying. What about supply chain, Lee? Do you see any problems down the line with getting anything that we need to keep America rolling?
Like anything, whether it's people's personalities or society's pluses and minuses, same applies with supply chain. So crisis and difficult situation exposes where supply chains are weak and exposes where supply chains are strong. So I would say that applies in our industry, where manufacturers have really built out robust networks and inventories and supply strategies. They're thriving, and we're benefiting from that. And where manufacturers or distributors have gone with overly lean or just-in-time type inventory systems coming from overseas and things like that, those supply chains have naturally struggled. So it's really on the harder parts side, we've been pretty fortunate. We have not, I began to worry, okay, are we going to all of a sudden run out of brake rotors? Are we going to run out of brake pads? Because, really our two biggest partners are, at least as far as our country goes, our two biggest partners are China and Mexico when it comes to aftermarket parts. And so luckily we have not had any indication of problems there. So that's a good sign for the industry.
Glad to know, my friend. Proof of concept in supply chain logistics getting proven out now. Hey, I had a blast. Is there anything else we should know?
My message to our folks through all this is let your core beliefs really shine. And I think that's kind of with everybody. And it's as simple as smile and know that everybody's stressed out right now, and that we all got to work together. And if we do that, then we'll be better off when we come out of this. And certainly that applies to any industry, especially our industry. And we're fortunate to be in such a resilient industry, serves the country, and that gets people where they need to go. And that's not going to stop.
Great point. I was at the Disney Institute, and one of the big takeaways that Disney came up with as far as a customer service creed was almost exactly what you just said. Look them in the eye and smile. And there is no doubt that is, to me, the greatest little cherry off the tree right now is just smile. We're going to get through this. Lee Walker, President Walker Auto and Truck, 67 locations, North Carolina, third generation. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier Automotive Aftermarket podcast. Until next time.